Welcome. I'm Tim Gould. I'm the criminal justice instructor here at River Valley Tech. So I just want to give you kind of an overview of what's going on here. And then if you have any comments, questions, or anything like that, I'd be happy to talk about that. So first, a little bit about me. Like I said, I'm Tim Gould. I retired last December, almost a year now, from the Vermont State Police after 22 years. My experience, pretty broad range of experience. I worked in patrol for 14 years, the bulk of my career, and then I worked in our training division. And the last 4.5 years of my career was spent managing the overseeing professional standards, which was managing our accreditation and also policy development for the department. Currently, I'm enrolled in the teacher prep program, so I'm going through those courses now, and this is my first full school year, so I'm just starting my first fall. So it's definitely been definitely very eventful experience so far. So getting settled in and kind of getting used to a new group of students, but it's been good so far. So I'm in the process of kind of revamping the curriculum a little bit, partially to make it my own, to kind of balance with my strengths, but also to make sure that we're hitting all the state standards, as well as some of the skills that we want in terms of professionalism, engagement, and that employers will be looking for later. So I'm trying to develop a nice blend of class lecture, projects, and presentations. I have a few things spread out on the back if we have a minute here. Our level 1 class did a unit on the history of prisons, and they learned about different prison models. So in groups, they worked to adopt one of the historic models of prisons, and they had to design a layout of a prison with like their primary rules of conduct, and it had to follow like what that model of prisons was like. So they worked really hard on that. They hung out in the hallway for a little bit, but also trying to work in task-based learning. A lot of the task functions, as much as this is a broad criminal justice program, a lot of the task-based functions are really kind of related more towards law enforcement directly. So I'm trying to work those in throughout the year just to kind of break up. It is a heavily academic topic. So I'm trying to break that up with things like a crime scene investigation, which we'll do kind of after winter break while it's colder and get to be outside. Working on their administration of DUI field sobriety exercises, where we've gone through one of them already. We'll be doing another one soon, where they actually practice with each other, and then they get evaluated as new officers about that, and then doing fingerprint activities as well. Each day we talk about current events. Depending on the day, I may come in with certain topics or stories that we're going to talk about. It's usually 3 to 4 stories, or I'll have them come in, and after they're done doing their opening questions to start the class, I'll have them find a story. Something that resonates with them, whether it's national or local. But the goal is always to try to connect it to stuff we've either talked about recently or are about to talk about. And also just local connection is always good, because it's very common for students to come in and just report things they saw on their way to and from school. And when they see the news story about something that they saw personally, I think they build that connection to it. So it resonates with them. We are set this year for three college credits each year of the program through River Valley Community College. Level 1 class will be getting credit for Intro to Criminal Justice, and the Level 2 class will be getting credit for Justice in the Community. I'll talk a little bit more about the project we're doing related to that Level 2 class later. Currently pending right now for credits through CCV. I have my documentation submitted, so there's just a little more of a process to go through to get me certified to teach that, but we're working on that. But we've got the 6 credits that the students will earn through the 2 years the program started this year. Field trips and real world experience, I'm huge on that. These are the trips we've done so far this fall. We've gone down to Springfield Fire Department, the police department. We've gone down to the State Police Barracks in Westminster to tour the barracks and also see the 911 Center. We've gone to the Claremont Police Department, as well as Southern State Correctional Facility right down the road, Springfield, which is has so far been one of the favorites. They've really gotten Department of Corrections has really given them a lot of access to that facility, which is great. They get to see a lot of what's going on in there. And they're definitely very stunned by, I think, their perception versus what it's really like in some of the programs out there. So that's been very eye-opening for them. Upcoming, actually next week, we'll be heading over to New Hampshire to go to the New Hampshire Police Academy, and then we'll be touring the New Hampshire 911 Center. They're both in Concord, so we're going to combine those in one trip. In the spring, we'll go to the Vermont Police Academy, and then we have a trip to the medical examiner's office. That'll be in April. That'll just be for the level 2 class. They'll be going to the medical examiner's office, and we also will be going to the forensics lab up in Waterbury, which we did last spring. That'll be both classes. Just waiting to get that finalized. Guest speakers. I like to have people come in. I think it's valuable for our students to hear from the people that are actually doing the work. So far this year, we've had probation and parole in, and actually just earlier today, we had a medical legal death investigator who was a former colleague of mine. She was a detective and head of the state police crime scene search team for several years. And now she works for the medical examiner's office doing the field work as part of death investigation. So we actually combined that presentation today and a previous day a few weeks ago with the health sciences class, where she did a remote presentation and some case studies, just to kind of make the connection between the legal aspect of those investigations as well as the medical aspect of those investigations. And we also had a great visit last year, and I'm planning to get it again this year from the State Police Polygraph Unit. We had 2 polygraph examiners come in to talk about the science behind polygraph and actually give a live read demonstration in the class, which was really great. And then I'm also working on State Police Special Operations. Their squad commander for their special operations is interested in bringing down UAV, which are their drones, and then hopefully some bomb squad equipment as well as one of their canines to kind of give a demonstration. I'm hopeful that they'll have enough equipment that it may be worthwhile to incorporate that and invite manufacturing and engineering to see some of that robotic equipment that they have. And then, as always, we have frequent visits from Springfield Police Department. The officers are in and out of here all the time, which is great. Just today, for example, we had 3 officers stop in just after we had a discussion about legal rights of officers or things that they can do legally when they encounter someone they think is suspicious. So the students answered the question, and then when they walked in, we went back to the question, put it back on the board, and asked them what they would do in that situation. So it was just a nice way for them to kind of get that feedback of, okay, the way I was thinking was reality. So it's great to see that. And I always enjoy putting stuff. So currently, I have 7 students that have entered Skills USA. So we'll be trying to get the Skills USA program for criminal justice up and running this year. We've got 7 students that have signed up. 3 in the level 2 class who are interested in doing a crime scene investigation competition, which is pretty in-depth. And it's a 3-person team competition. And then 4 level 1 students who are also interested, and we'll have to make a determination on what they want to do. But there's also individual criminal justice competitions that involve an interview similar to like a hiring panel interview, a motor vehicle stop, a response to a suspicious incident, and then an aptitude test. So the scores from all 4 of those for individual competitors are combined to rank them in those competitions. So I'm looking forward to taking those 7 students to those events in April. It'll be the first time for me and the first time for all of them. So that would be a learning experience. Job shadows right now, level 2 class. We already have 4 students that have worked 2 shifts down at the State Police Barracks, working with 911 dispatchers, actually listening into calls and being able to kind of watch what they do and how they take the incoming 911 calls and work to dispatch them to whether it's medical calls or law enforcement calls or fire calls to the proper agencies. So that's been really good. They've been a great partner so far. And then we're in the process of just getting some ride along scheduled as well with state police and local agencies. So that's just waiting to be scheduled once they get waivers in. back to the level 2 class so that justice in the community course they're getting credit for. They're working on a project right now for scam awareness for seniors. So they're in the process of developing a presentation of about 30 minutes to deliver to seniors in the community. And we're actually partnering with the Springfield Senior Center and the Walpole Public Library so far. We're going to try to get more once we get rolling, but the idea is that they're going to develop this presentation to give to seniors about scams and how to avoid them and what to do if you suspect you've been scammed. Provide them a handout that they can take home, and then deliver that in person at the senior centers. So we're working with those senior centers to they'll organize the audience for us and we'll bring the presentation to them. So they're really excited about it. I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping that'll lead to some different things. And one completely organic part of this, one of the students suggested that demographic enjoys bingo. So they're actually had the idea of creating a bingo card that they're going to bring, they want to create and bring with us so that the people participating can follow along that bingo card and just have a little fun with it. So I was actually proud of them for coming up with that connection system. Also level 2, we have a planned trip to Washington, DC in May. The students are planning the itineraries and fundraising, so we're well on our way. We've raised probably a little more than half of what we need for the trip. So that's great. They're picking the things they want to see. Among the things on their list, Supreme Court, FBI, Holocaust Museum. And because you have to have at least a little bit of fun, the National Zoo, and then the Police Officers Memorial Museum. So that'll be an exciting thing. It's definitely a heavy lift in terms of especially fundraising. So this is going to be the trial run, and if it works well and it's something we can manage, I'd like to make that an annual.
How much do you need?
So we're right around $8,000 to cover everything for our travel and then administrative costs that go along with it. So I think our fundraising so far we're right around 5,200 so far. So we're off to a good start. A lot of bake sales. Great, they'll be continuing. So any questions, comments, or
just if folks are watching on SAPA, how can they contribute?
So we're running a few fundraisers we're running right now. You could send a check to RVTC, Attention Criminal Justice. We also have a quilt raffle that we're running that has been posted on the RVTC Facebook page. And we're also selling some travel mugs, which that sale ends Sunday, but those are out there too. So those have been posted on the Facebook page for RVTC for more information.
Questions? I guess I'm curious about, and from your background, obviously, and having a Springfield PD and the Venn diagram of substance use, law enforcement, social issues. How is that being discussed, trying to help students understand the nuances of those things and how to handle situations?
Yeah, so I think in the conversations that come up just with current events and local events, there's almost always an element of either substance abuse or mental health issues. So, I mean, it's just ever present. So we also have, in addition to the conversations with the officers, it frequently goes down that route of how they handle those problems in the real world and out in the community. But we've also had the luxury last year, and they're planning it again this year, is we actually had Turning Point come in and do a presentation, which I think connected a lot of dots for the students, kind of seeing beyond, a lot of what was a common perception of these are just bad people doing bad things. Yep. And I think that was a perception for a long time, which fortunately we've kind of grown beyond, and seeing the complexity involved in those issues. That's been very, very good to see.
I think it's fantastic. I obviously follow it on the Facebook page. It's fun to see that they're out about doing everything.
Yeah, I think one of the favorite experiences so far was the level 2 class when we did our field trip to Springfield Police Department. They got to go out on Clinton Street and use the LiDAR and measure the speeds of cars going down Clinton Street. So that was really good for them to be able to see that do it. So
Did you want to show us?
Sure, yeah, so back here, yeah, these are just the projects I mentioned earlier, so these are the floor plans. And you'll see some of them have some rules written on them for those prison designs that the students worked on in groups.
Did they go to the prison before or after this project?
So this was after we went to the prisons. Yeah, the timing wasn't perfect. I kind of hope to get some of this work done before we did the field trip, but kind of have to work around scheduling with other entities, so,
Yeah.
but it worked out well.
Are the models clearly listed somewhere here, or is it?
Probably not. You probably have to look at the rules, and yeah, they did have a little fun with it.
Yep.
But the model could be deciphered based on the rules primarily. Yeah, that's not just an ordinary mode, that's a lava.
I know lava and gators.
Yes, lava gators. So
We don't have that up on the hill.
No.
have to allow some creative license.
So what has surprised you? I mean, I think I asked you that in spring. What has surprised you now you're a full year? Before, compared to what you thought it would be before you started?
You know, I think it's, I knew going into this that it would be a totally different environment for me.
Yep.
And I need to learn a lot, and that's definitely happening. But going through the certification classes now, like it's just a balance between managing like ideally what I'd like to do with the reality of time constraints and resource restraints, and you know, just finding that middle ground of where I can get something that works and perfect it as I go. So right now I'm in the foundation laying phase, and I'll build on that as I go.
Do you think some of your students have an interest in pursuing this?
I think so. I think historically, this type of program brought in or attracted people that were, you know, wanted to be police officers. And I think that the net is cast much wider now.
Okay.
I'm seeing a lot of interest in forensic science, criminal psychology, things like that. So that, and then again, that's another challenge, is making sure we're keeping it broad enough to you know, keep everyone involved. But I think at the end of the day, regardless of what you're doing in the criminal justice system, it's great to have a good understanding what that on the street level interaction is doing and what comes out of that, how that works.
Your questions?
Thank you, Mr. Gould.
Very much.
Okay, it is 4:57. Many thanks to Tim Gould for the presentation of the criminal justice program, and appreciate all the area departments and folks helping out and coming in and letting the kids go there and stuff. So appreciated that. Do we have any changes or additions to the agenda? Okay. Do we have any public comments? Seeing and hearing none. First item of business is the consent agenda. Would entertain a motion to accept, please. Kelly, and seconded by Andrew. Derek, what do we got on the consent agenda to talk about?
So our enrollment update, we're currently 22 students below our enrollment at this time last year. While that number is higher than I would like, you may notice last month we were at 28. So I think we had a little bit earlier attrition this year, and then we held pretty steady, and now we've kind of, I think, caught closer up to where we normally are at this time of year. And you know, it's still those 3 programs that we had lower enrollment in this year than last year. That is the main driver of that. For our financial report, we're projecting the surplus of $1,990. The thing to keep in mind is that we are still working on getting them to flat fund the base amount. They gave us that increase or flat funded for last year's numbers for the tuition reduction grant, which is 30%, 7% of the base rate. But they interpreted it in such a way that that didn't apply to the base amount, which is 87% of the base rate. So there's still that hanging $38,000 that we're worried about, and I'll talk about that a little bit later on.
On the enrollment, is there an opportunity to maybe pick up some students for the second semester? Or
We may be able to pick up. I know there's a few programs that traditionally have accepted mid-year enrollments. So we'll be getting that out, towards the end of the month. You don't want to get it out too early because the semester break is really an ideal time to enroll new students into programs that don't have high safety demands.
It looks like, I'm sorry.
I was saying typically in those last few weeks is when the sending schools will have students that are in a place where they may need to adjust their schedule, and that can be our opportunity.
If folks at home are thinking about it though, feel free to give a call anytime. We'd be happy to connect you with the right person to discuss potential opportunities and to give folks a tour.
And the number?
802-885-8300.
There we go.
Now that I'm on my second number here, I'm like rolling through 3 numbers at once.
All right, Jess, you had a question?
I do. It looks like it's primarily the pre-tech program.
So pre-tech took a huge hit this
Yeah.
year. We're at 13 students.
Okay.
Some of that is driven by state mandated curriculum changes
Okay.
that Gabe has been working towards. I think you're all aware, but the state holds CTE centers to a really high standard of achievement, high standard for graduation rates and things like that. So we get pushed in a little bit of a different way than our sending schools do and held accountable in a different way as well.
Okay. Hey, Eliza, we're on the consent agenda. We started a minute or two early, so. Sorry, all good. Any other questions on anything within the consent agenda from anyone? Okay, those in favor of approving, please raise your hands or say aye.
Okay.
Anybody opposed? Great, thank you. On to old business, VTVLC and Jessica pinch hitting.
Hello, good evening, everyone. Yes, I'm here for Ashley. So we have the financial report, which I think is in the packet. We are right on course from last month, so no changes in the financials for VTVLC. Our enrollment numbers, I believe, are also in the packet. We have the November 15th data, which Ashley has probably told you before, it's always a moving target, but our VTVLC numbers continue to grow. Our current numbers from November 15th are, we have 1,263 unique enrollments and 645 students, which, like I said, our numbers continue to grow. I even looked today and our numbers are even higher than that. So that's exciting. And then Ashley's director report is in there also, just a couple of highlights. So November 11th, Ashley presented about VTVLC during the Springfield Rotary Luncheon. She shared that with us. She had an amazing time and she said it was a real honor to share about VTVLC's programs. And then the week of November 16th, myself and the other admins at VTVLC were fortunate enough to be able to present at the Online Learning Consortium Accelerate Conference in Orlando, Florida. So that was a really wonderful experience for all of us. And we greatly shared getting sort of VTVLC out there on a national stage. So it was very exciting.
Sorry, Jessica, multitasking.
Yeah, no worries. And that's it from VTVLC.
And I was at the Rotary presentation and Ashley did a great job and I think got a lot of people informed about what VTVLC does, so.
Great.
Any questions or comments for Ashley? Anything else to share, Ashley? Jessica, sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. I answered to both.
Yeah, there you go. Sorry about that. All right, thank you, appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
All right, CTE update.
So as I was talking about earlier, we're working on getting that level funding for the base amount. I've been working with Gwen Bailey Rowe, from the director of the North Country Career Center. She's working with Senator Marcotte. He has reached out. There was a budget briefing today. He'd already talked or emailed the chair of appropriations and hadn't heard back. So hopefully I will get some sort of update tomorrow on how that discussion went. I'm headed to the CTE stakeholder meeting in St. Johnsbury tomorrow. I believe I've talked to some or all of you about that before. We've got a lot of legislators showing up and, even though Scott did a ton of work and wrote a bunch of very short pieces highlighting these problems, they still are not very well understood at the legislative level. So things that the directors are talking about and that are the major issues are the senators are worried about access in some areas of the state, and in some programs, access is a struggle for some groups. Unfortunately, I don't think they really understand that for most places, infrastructure is the major inhibitor, right? We have programs that we know we have interested in, but it would be hard for us to start, say, an auto program, heavy equipment, those sorts of things. Or even just, plumbing or something like that, where you need the hard lab. It would take some infrastructure, and the state would need to support us. Like, that's not something that would be easy for a community our size to foot the bill for. So we're going to be advocating for that. If they want more access, we need to have more facilities. Having statewide graduation requirements, which provide students with flexibility so that it's easier for all students to be able to access CTE statewide. And then standardizing what credits are given for each program throughout the state so that every student who comes knows what they're going to get, and schools don't have the choice of how they're going to apply that, which I've seen be beneficial for students, and I've seen prevent students from being able to access us. So it would be nice to have that level of standardization. I was wondering if there's anything you folks are worried about around access that I should be bringing with me when I go tomorrow.
I think in terms of the credits, I presume you mean embedded credits and the academic credits that Tech Center programs can give that can apply to a high school.
Right.
Yes.
And right now we recommend them, and we have to negotiate them with every sending school. When you multiply that out by every CTE center in the state, the number of man hours that go into that, and then the product being as confusing as it is based on where you live, it's really not in the best interest of students. So those are our asks. I don't know what the agenda of the folks will be presenting to really is, other than they want more, but then we also need to do it cheaper, which is a challenge.
My concern is, and so Mike Markoff's the chair of the House Commerce Committee, by the way, and he's a longtime champion of tech ed, is that in the storm over the bigger picture of education reform and the perceived lack of action is that CTE is going to get kind of shoved over here. So however you can collectively and your peers can keep CTE top of mind. You have a champion in Allison Clarkson in this region. So use that. And work on it. Obviously the other House reps and senators as well.
This might be an obvious question, but I don't really know the answer. Do people somewhere put out like needs assessment survey type things where say, a community, a greater community, not just Springfield per se, because we're in Springfield, but the surrounding areas too, like, hey, we don't have a lot of firefighters at the moment. We really need a firefighter program, or we don't have a lot of plumbers. We really need to, does that ever happen, or is that?
So there's two ways we stay up to date on community needs. One is through our advisory committees. So we really try to get as many folks from each of the industry clusters that we serve, which is a lot of them, into the building, telling us what their needs are in real time. And then Perkins requires us to do a comprehensive local needs assessment. I think that's every 2 years. So we are up this year, expect to see surveys coming out, and we try to get those as far out into the community. And it's asks a lot of questions around what the needs are, like what's getting in the way, all of those sorts of things. So anybody who's listening on SAPA, if you're running a business and haven't got one before and would like to get one, please reach out to us so we can make sure we send one your way. And if you do get one, please fill it out, because we really use that information to plan and change for the future of what the community needs. And some of these changes take a minute. So the earlier we know about the needs, the faster we can move to meet them.
As a person who's deeply involved in this twice before, the assessment comes back man, we need everything, because we all know what the labor market looks like,
Right.
and yeah, the need is big across the board. So it was easy to write a plan, because the need was everywhere.
That answers your
Yeah,
question?
thank you.
Any other questions for Derek on the statewide CTE stuff? The games begin in a few weeks, so hang on. All right, union support staff negotiations.
Got to get our committee together shortly. They've reached out and are again ready to start planning a meeting. So we look forward to getting going on that. Yeah, I was gonna wait to talk about that until we got the committee together.
Any questions on that?
Sorry, that was on the union staff
Correct.
negotiations, right? There is a committee for that, right?
Yes,
I'm on it, right?
Is there? I got to reach out and get us together.
Okay, cool. I will look forward to hearing from you.
Awesome.
Yeah, you're still on it.
Yes, please still be on it.
Okay, so FY27 Budget Committee, Sarah, myself, and Jess met with Derek and Christine and Nate a couple weeks ago. So why don't you share what we got?
Nate, would you mind pulling up the FY27 budget summary? So going through our proposed expenditures for next year, if we kind of level funded our programming, we'd be looking at a $223,666 increase. The overall percentage of the increase would be 6.85. When I look at our expenses that really are driving that, we've got a 6% salary increase, a 7% healthcare increase, and a 13% facilities increase from Springfield High School. So those are the major drivers, and we're staying right around those numbers. When you look at our proposed revenues, which is the money that we're going to get from the base rate tuition assistance, and our assessment to the sending schools, that gives us about $3,490,150. So our actual budget gap at this point, without changing the assessment to the sending schools at all, is $30,718. If we chose to raise the assessment to the sending schools to fill that gap, it would be a 2.64% increase. Every 1% that we raise the assessment to the sending schools is approximately $11,634. Will you now pull up the River Valley Tech Center School District proposed tuition assessment by district / town?
Nate, could you fast over that, please?
For the folks on Zoom, I'm guessing that didn't change. Is that the same? Are you looking at the same sheet or are you looking at a different one?
No,
it's new
it's a
one.
different one.
changed.
Okay, good.
And by the way, this is super helpful. I love being able to see it versus having to find it in my own packet.
Yep, great.
Yeah, this is not in your packet. This is just a first level look at it. So you'll see that changes proposed. This is at the current level with nothing else added. Black River is going down a little bit just because their numbers are lower. The other school districts are going up, but I wanted you to have those numbers in case, you could bring that back to your board. One thing I would like to get a temperature check on the board is I, at this point, have added no new things to the budget. 2 areas of need that I would like to dedicate more funds to is providing funding for all students to be members of a CTSO. Right now, either the class raises the funds for them to be members of those organizations, and those are things like FBLA, Future Business Leaders of America, Skills USA, FFA, which is a agricultural organization formerly known as Future Farmers of America, but now I think it's Future Farmers and Agriculturalists. I would like more of our students to be more involved in those programs, but I don't want to go and make that be an expectation without providing means for all students to be able to access it. Another area where we've seen challenges is transporting students. Not all students have access to transportation. Within town, the micro mover is a huge asset that's already being used by our students, but it only does Springfield. So things like small field trips, if you've got a few more students than our current bus can take, having some sort of vehicle, or to get them to work experiences, job shadows, so they can try things out. I think right now we're doing all right with that, but I think students who have the least means are the least likely to be able to access them. And I think that's really an area where we could make more of a difference in students' lives, is by getting them connected with businesses earlier. So if folks are interested, I could work up something around what that would cost. I think it's roughly in the area of like $30,000. If we chose to do that, it would change the percentage increase of the assessment by about 5.21%. And I just was wondering if there was an interest in that and how folks are feeling about the numbers I presented.
So before we do that, Nate, could you switch to that other page that shows the
summary?
The one you have right there. Yes, that one.
Yeah.
Thank you. So just, I don't know if we should, several of us have been on the board, but not everybody has been, and this budget is unique and wonky. So kind of a quick tutorial on the math. And I'll do a little bit and you can jump in if I miss anything. So, and the letters in the parentheses there, like A times C, A times D, A times B, whatever.
Christine is the best.
Yeah, so that helps if you scroll down on the page a little bit, Nate, please. Those things cross-relate. So the 6 semester average. So if you remember from last year's budget, that was the last one that contained the COVID years. So the 6 semester average was artificially low, and we had to compensate for that. So that's caught up. So that's good, right? So the 6 semester number is up. And for the Vermont schools, there is money that comes from the state in different forms, which is the C and the D. And you basically multiply the 6 semester average times those numbers, and you get the numbers that are up above. There are also tuition that comes to us from students from New Hampshire, as in Fall Mountain. And you can see the math on that. I think Derek has approached that maybe a little more cautiously this year, given the numbers that are able to access the programs here. And I think it's just 4 programs they can access right now, right?
Yep, it's 4 programs that they can access. And this year I adjusted it to our current rates. We have always in the past been a little hopeful about what we would get. And so I just put it at our current rate so that when we're planning our budget, we don't have a gap of students that we were hoping would come that didn't end up showing up. And then every student who does show up is a positive for us.
Okay, so when Derek talks about the assessment increase, that's under, I'm pointing, and I don't know who can see what here. So what's on the screen right now, and it says revenue calculations and assumptions. And you see 6 semester Vermont FTE, Vermont assessment percentage increase. So the Vermont assessment is what ends up being billed to the schools. The number that Derek showed earlier of what the current impact is to the Vermont sending schools is based on the 6 semester average for those schools. And that's based on, if you look on the second Vermont assessment B, the proposal right now is to flatline it with last year at 9170 per student, per FTE. That's 0%, that's level funded with last year at the moment. So that the per school thing is based on 9170 times the number of kids per school based on the 6 semester average. So far, so good?
And that's what leaves us with the $30,000 gap.
So if you look at the line below that, percentage increase, you will see, and if we went back historically, we could show you more. We generally have been super cautious about this, although there's been a couple of years where we've been more aggressive. Last year, to make the numbers work because of the 6 semester average, and the last of the COVID, we increased the assessment by just under 8%. What Derek was referring to is in the budget committee, we discussed to get rid of the current $30,000 gap, assuming there's no other changes and things we don't know about. They would require a 2.64% increase in that local assessment. To accommodate some of the items Derek spoke about, like the CTSO and whatever, it would require about a 5% increase in the assessment. So I think, and Jess and Sarah can correct me if I'm misstating this, but I think what the budget committee was looking for tonight is a temperature check from the Vermont sending schools about how would you be feeling about 2.64, 5.2, or keep it level. And the budget committee will meet again prior to the holidays, and we'll come back to you in January with a budget that would be considered for approval. That all makes sense? Okay, sorry for rambling. Folks on screen, I can't see you all, so if
You want to shut that off, Nate, and go back to them?
And obviously anybody in the room, if there are questions. And Christine, did we miss anything?
No, you got it. Thank you.
All right, now I can see you all. And Sarah, did I miss anything from the budget committee meeting?
No, I don't think so. The one question I have is, just to clarify. Last year we raised by 7.87%.
Correct.
And
The
then
Vermont assessments, the Vermont.
Vermont assessments. Fall Mountain's separate, a different thing, but for the Vermont assessments, if we raised it by 2%, that would be the 7.87 from last year would raise it 2% above that 7. I'm just confused on that.
So the number, okay, let me take
Then it says 0, and then it says.
So in fiscal year 25, the assessment was level funded. So we did not increase the budget, the Vermont assessment in the FY25 budget from the previous year.
Correct.
In FY26, the budget that was approved and approved by the voters increased the local assessment 7.87% compared to FY25.
Okay.
Currently, the FY27 budget proposes level funding, no increase. The potential increases we're speculating on would be for FY27.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that for everybody, because I was a little confused, so I just want to make sure that everybody was clear.
For sure.
The other thing, where does that put us? Typically, we're in the bottom third of what everybody else charges, and
So if we made the 2.64% increase and compared against what they're charging right now, that would bring us to the top of the bottom third. So we would be, I didn't bring that one piece of paper with me, but
I
I
have
think
it.
it puts us 13th
Yeah.
with current spending. So when they put out their budgets for next year, that's 13 out of 17. Chances are we would be even lower down in that percentage. I also talked to Scott about where those numbers came from, because like the number at the bottom is like $14,000, and there has to be costs in that budget that are being eaten somewhere else, because that number is unreal.
Yeah.
So, no matter what with either of these projections, I don't see us rising out of the bottom third of being like one of the cheapest tech centers in the state. And I would argue what we provide is very different than what we charge.
Absolutely. Yeah. Very high quality program.
I would ask that these be sent out to the board, these 3 sheets.
Happy to do that. I can get those out to you tonight.
Yep. So the sheets are on the screen that you all have in front of you. Go ahead, Kate.
Yeah, how much does this increase factor out to like a per student cost for a district? Can you do that math? Did you?
Yeah, so
Yep. So it's gonna be, it'll be 9. Hold on a second here. Lost my calculator.
Let her.
no, she is much better at this than
Thank you, Christine.
So if we increase that 2.64%, that's gonna put that up to 94.12 a student. And we're charging
Per FTE, right?
Yeah, per FTE, sorry.
So that's 2 students.
Yeah, and so that's gonna be $242 a student or FTE. Was that your question, Kate?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
that's helpful. That makes more sense to me. I think that our district certainly has a strong support of the program, and I think that, you know, as budgets are very tight, we had a really hard time passing our budget last year, so small increases are what we're looking for, but I think there would be support around a small increase, given kind of where we're at with all things inflation.
That's helpful. Anybody else with thoughts on this?
I'm having a little bit of trouble evaluating the two questions in one at
Yeah.
one time. There's kind of the question about the getting us up to parity with our level funding, and then the sort of separate question about that's like a budgeting judgment call in terms of some specific asks. Is it possible to separate those into sort of two different questions?
Let me take a crack at it. So right now, with the assessment, again, why we focus on the assessment is there's not a whole lot of levers we can pull in this, right, easily. So so adjusting the assessment to the Vermont Sending Schools is one of the easiest lever to pull. So right now that lever is flat, okay, and that leaves this draft budget with a gap of about 30 grand.
Right. I'm sorry. I totally understand that. And I totally understand that piece of it. What I'm having a little bit of trouble with is the additional ask related. Yeah. Okay.
So I was getting there. So to get the budget gap to 0, the easiest thing to do would be to increase that local assessment by 2.64%. So that gets us to a 0 budget as currently proposed. So that's question number 1, and what's the feedback to that? Or a district feeling like, no, figure out a way to make it work with no increase in the assessment. And that's great. We would go back to the drawing board to do that. So door number 2 is that, okay, let's say we've level funded the budget with a 2.64% increase in the assessment, asterisks all over the place. Does the board want to consider some of the other items that Derek has kept out of the budget currently, which are the items he spoke about? Doing that without any other modifications or money from above or whatever would potentially take instead of a 2.64% increase in the assessment, a roughly 5% increase in the assessment. Is that helpful?
It is, but it feels like the kind of the budget priority decisions are the cart is leading the horse a little bit. Like if I don't know if I'm expressing this well. I can handle approaching it this way, but it feels kind of like we're making priority decisions based on a very specific metric, which of course we have to care about how much money we have, but they feel a little bit coupled in a way that I'm just having a little bit of trouble reasoning about, but I can work with it.
No, that's okay. And I think maybe take away the specifics and more globally.
Okay, okay, that helps. That does help. If you're
assessment are the districts comfortable with us playing with, if any?
I see. Okay, so this is a temperature check, not for me,
correct?
But for people who like represent kind of where the money will come from. Okay,
correct. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, there have been years where we've kept it 0 or 1, 2, 3, and there have been years where, like last year, we were more aggressive on it, and we always want to check back with the sending schools before we do any more specifics to come back with a draft that hopefully everybody finds favorable in January. Sorry, Chris.
So I have some questions about some of the proposed changes, not major ones, but I would rather hold those until I see the numbers. So
Right.
I guess my point would be when is this? Are we gonna does January 7th, I saw that's the one, the next meeting. January 7th is the timing for reaching these decisions? Is that? Correct.
Ideally, if the board
Okay.
is comfortable with that at that meeting, we certainly can schedule a special meeting to do so. But I think I encourage you, Chris, to share any feedback with Derek and or me prior, so the budget committee has that in its hand.
Well, no, so where I was going was, if January 7th is when we're going to revisit this, at that time, I wouldn't mind seeing sort of, and I don't want to make extra work for people, but the three options. The three options are 0, 2 point something, and 5 point something. And at that point, you know, depending on where our budget is in Bellows Falls, it might be comfortable enough to say, yes, let's do the more aggressive, or no, let's stay with 0. See what I'm saying? And so
Yes.
I don't want to spend
makes sense.
time now with those questions if they're going to become irrelevant come January 7th.
Yep, that makes sense, Chris. We can do that.
So part of that one option, then we would need to discuss what we would potentially take out to still close the gap. So it has that,
Correct.
but then it also has what we need to look at to say, yes, this is gonna come out or not.
That makes sense too.
Mhm.
And then if administration wants to roll up sleeves and say, oh, we missed this, or we forgot about this, or whatever,
Mhm.
great too.
Yeah.
I think, not to drag this on, but I think this has been helpful, and I think for the budget committee, I think we've gotten the temperature check we were looking for.
Good.
Any other questions or concerns?
No, I mean, and lots of them, but I don't.
So you had that
Yeah,
look.
I have to look because I know, our meeting is next week and it's going to be very hard on our end. So any additional at this point is going to be really hard, although I obviously support all of that. So it's, and I'm going to say the same thing next week at our meeting, and I just don't know how we're all going to do it. And I don't think any of it's going to pass anyways, because I think someone up north chucked us under the bus again.
Totally, 100%.
And set it up.
So we're not going there.
I would point out that even if we want to have a special meeting in January, we have to be very careful with the amount of time that we
Correct.
do, because there's many deadlines that I have to meet so that we meet legal requirements.
I think by heck or high water, we have to have a budget, for example.
I'll look up the date for
Yeah.
you as to when, because we have to post it in a certain amount of time and all that.
We can get those numbers to you this week, Bob. And
Or
you can
to
give
the
us
board.
feedback. You want it to go everywhere?
please.
Okay.
Well, and I preferably would have it for the budget committee
Yep.
first,
Yeah.
but I do want these sheets to go out to the full board.
Yep.
Derek, when you do those sheets, can you do a little mini, nothing major summary of them in words that I will still remember tomorrow morning?
I can get that to you, but do you mind if I get that to you tomorrow afternoon?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah. I meant just that I'm not gonna remember tonight,
yeah.
tomorrow.
Happy to write up a little
Thank you.
summary
Yeah.
on each of them and get it to you tomorrow.
That would be public, that we could share with people on our
Yes.
board.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions on the budget discussion? All right, thank you, everybody. Let's move on to policies. So third time around for community engagement and vision, district equity, and selection of instructional materials. Nate,
No changes on those.
folks have any concerns or questions about any of these? Again, it's the third time around for them. If not, could I get a motion, please, to approve the third reading and the adoption of policies A23, community engagement and vision, C29, district equity policy, and D23, selection of instructional materials. Moved by Jess. And seconded by Andrew. Discussion on the motion? And a dog. If he has any questions, we'll take those too. All right, all those in favor of the motion, raise hands or say aye, or raise
Aye.
paws. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay, next, second time around for policies, employee unlawful harassment, personnel recruitment, selection, appointment, and background checks, or professional development. Do we have any questions or concerns about any of those? And Nate, no changes?
No changes.
Okay. Can I get a motion, please, to approve the second reading and warn the third reading of policies B5, employee unlawful harassment, B20, personnel recruitment, selection, appointment, and background checks, and B21, professional development? Would someone make,
So moved.
please? Chris, and seconded by Kelly. Discussion on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, those in favor, say aye or raise hands.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. That's it for old business. New business, the annual meeting date. So as a reminder, the River Valley Technical Center School District is its own school district. And just like your own districts, in addition to having the Australian ballot vote, we are required to hold a public annual meeting. There is a limited amount of business conducted at that. And we also talk about the budget and encourage support and so forth for that. So the annual meeting typically is the Thursday before town meeting. So that would make it February 26th. So I would look for a motion to approve Thursday, February 26th, 2026 at 7 p.m. at the River Valley Tech Center for the RVTC annual meeting. Desiree moves, and I see Liza seconds. That's good. We're getting everybody in. Any questions or concerns on the motion?
I might be out of town, but that's okay. Just saying.
So noted. Any other questions on the motion? All right, those in favor, raise hands or say aye.
Aye.
And anybody opposed? Thank you. All right, back to Nate for policies, and the first time around for substitute teacher and volunteer and work study students.
Yes, so the first one, B1 substitute teachers is easy. There's no changes to that. This is just updating our data review. For B2, volunteers and work study students, we are looking to update it using the model policy. The update clarifies definitions, including that student teachers are not considered work study students. It strengthens screening requirements by adding mandatory sex offender registry checks and clearer guidance on background checks. It also improves clarity around supervision and ensures only approved individuals may have unsupervised contact with students.
I will note there was another proposed policy in your packet that was not warned, so we're going to push that to next month. So we're just talking about the two that Nate referenced about substitute teachers and volunteer and work study students. Any questions or concerns about either of those? Okay, and as always, we get 3 bites at the apple. Can I get a motion to approve the first reading and warn the second reading of policies B1 substitute teacher and B2 volunteers and work study students? Andrew, seconded by Kelly. Any discussion on that? Those in favor, please raise hands or say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Thank you. All right, Derek, superintendent's report.
On November 1st, the RADs were competing in Thetford, Vermont. On the 3rd, criminal justice and health science combined for the presentation by the medical legal death investigator. On the 6th, both criminal justice classes took a field trip to the Claremont Police Department for a tour. On the 7th, RVTC hosted the CTE legislative work group that I was discussing attending tomorrow. Also on the 7th, both horticulture classes visited the North Springfield Dam to provide context to their lessons on forest ecology. The 8th, the RADs competed in Durham, New Hampshire. The 11th and the 18th, Tech Time programs ran, and they're going to be running through December. Kelly's got a very large interested crew, which is awesome. 13th, level 2 horticulture was out in the woods, marking trees on a local property and learning what active forest management looks like. The 14th, business management and entrepreneurship and infotech traveled to St. Mike's for the FBLA Fall Leadership Conference. On the 17th, Gabe and myself participated in the Pre-Tech Next Gen Service Implementation Meeting, which is the new curriculum from the, well, one of the 2 choices for new curriculum from the AOE. On the 18th and 19th, Terry Herzog, our school counselor, presented to health science level 2 students regarding post-secondary planning. Now is the time. If anybody listening is attending here and has questions about what next year is going to look like for their students or themselves, they're welcome to give us a shout. On the 19th, the RADs held a team scrimmage for Lego League. 3 teams locally. We had Bellows Falls, Weathersfield, and the RADs. And for those that don't know, First Lego League is an elementary through middle school level introduction to robotics course. The 19th, Advanced Manufacturing Engineering participated in job shadows at a bunch of local manufacturers. On the 20th, Health Science Level 1 and Springfield High School students, through their Flexible Pathway coordinator, Michelle Pinter-Petrillo, welcomed Alicia Straw and Carol Knight from Southern Vermont AHEC for the first in a series of health career exploration presentations and hands-on activities, which will continue on Thursdays through the 18th of this month. The 20th, both criminal justice classes visited the Westminster State Police Barracks and toured the facility and emergency communication center. Carpentry 1 students also visited Preferred Building Systems in Claremont to learn about modular home construction. The 24th, Zach, Kristen, and myself met with Ruth Durkee, discussed the future of virtual technology offerings at RVTC. It looks like we're probably going to get a time grant again. I got them convinced because the first year was so rushed for Zach to give us a 3rd year, and nobody is stepping up for cybersecurity. So we might get a grant for half of Kristen for next year to teach cybersecurity virtually. Just things I'm doing to try to keep the costs in the budget down, or the local costs in the budget down. On the 24th, RVTC hosted the Riverside STEAM team to try to work on deepening our collaboration, aligning curriculum, and make sure middle school students know what their career opportunities are to keep them as engaged in education as we can. On the 25th, Advanced Manufacturing and Engineering hosted Alumni Day. It was really awesome to see generations of alumni from that class come in and give advice to our current students. In terms of things I've done, I went to the Superintendent's Association Legislative Updates meeting, went to the AOE Strategic Planning Retreat focused on graduation requirements, met with Superintendent Burrows from Springfield Supervisory District, went to the Early Career Superintendents meeting, went to Image Tech /Series Open House, which was awesome. I can't wait to work more with them in the future. Went to the Southeast Vermont Superintendents meeting, the Vermont School Boards Association Fall Business meeting, the WCC core meeting, and the VACTED meeting in Montpelier, where we met with Aaron Davis, the AOE's Chief Academic Officer, and discussed graduation requirements, which was great. And that was many of the things we did in November.
Also attended the SRDC annual meeting.
Oh, yes. Sorry, Bob. I did not mean to leave you out on that one. Drones were a little impressive that day.
Just fine. No, and that was great. No, so, and Derek that day at the drone thing met with the Commissioner of the Department of Labor, Secretary of the Agency of Agriculture, and met other state people as well. So that was a great event. And if you haven't heard me talk enough, you can fast forward through this online, is the SRDC annual meeting. And also has information about the Working Communities Challenge and what Black River Innovation Campus is doing, including the new VRmont Studios, new virtual reality thing that will be on Main Street, opening hopefully, I think, around the 15th. So then Fusca did a great presentation on that. So anyway, any questions for Derek? Okay, do we have any other business? All right, if not, our next meeting is January 7th, 2026. If I don't see you, have great holidays. We are adjourned at 5:43. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.